to show this woman who has sexual agency, who's surviving very well in this very testosterone-driven world.
Hello and welcome to India.com, and I am Anurag Singh Bora. And today we have with us someone who needs no introduction. She is known for playing one of the most popular characters in the web shows, the feisty Beena Tripathi, and she's also been receiving a lot of accolades for her recently released short film, The Broken Table with Nasiruddin Shah. We have with us Rasika Dugal. Rasika, welcome to India.com.
Thank you so much, Anurag.
So I would like to begin with, you started your career with, unconventional films like Anwar and No Smoking. From there to, working in films like Loot Case and, this Darban, which have been well appreciated by the audiences and critics. So what kind of change you see in the way today the women characters are being written in Indian cinema?
I think there's a lot of change from the time that I started working. I started working professionally after I graduated from the Film Institute in 2007. And us samay there were a lot of smaller films which were being made, very content driven, very interesting ideas, very interesting scripts. A film like Bheja Fry had recent success. So the 1 crore film was a thing to do at that time. Lekin as the years went by, I think people found it harder and harder to distribute those films. So even though they were great ideas and novel ideas, the distribution was always a bottleneck. So many interesting concepts that were being written didn't see the light of day. Most of these films, many of those films got made and got either had very small releases or didn't get released at all. And I think the streaming space came and changed that idea of it proved that the audiences are ready for much more than we were ready to give them, so I think that has made a big difference in the way scripts are being written now. And I think generally in the world, there is a lot more acknowledgement of inclusivity and the idea that the representation of women for too long has been very either only to support a male character or a very cardboard cutout character, not with the nuances and the embracing of femininity that you can have for a female part.
Sure.
And so I think that is something that I'm very fortunate that in my career that change has happened and has happened very effectively. I feel ki I think 5-6 years ago, when there was this whole talk about female characters or lengthier female characters hone chahiye, important female characters hone chahiye, I felt ki bahut sare log they were writing female characters as an act of tokenism, just to check a box ki chalo ye feminism ka dabba tick ho gaya, and I felt that still those characters were almost being very masculine, as if to be there you had to, as if to prove that you're worthy of that position or that length of role, there has to be something masculine about this. But that also changed, there with more nuanced writing, with more sensitivity towards women in general. I think has in the entertainment business has led to all of that. So I'm very happy. अगर इस time ये changes नहीं हुई होती तो पता नहीं हम जैसे actors को काम मिलता कि नहीं.
You pointed out some really crucial points which leads to my next question, which is that do you also believe that the emergence of the streaming platforms, which has just gained prominence in the past 5-6 years, it has also sort of changed how the audiences look at women characters, and also the approach of writing those characters, especially in terms of web shows and movies?
There's a lot of change because I think the streaming spaces, with the first few shows that did well, it proved to everybody that अगर आप अच्छी स्क्रिप्ट लिखो और अच्छे परफॉर्मेंसेस हैं और अगर आप कोई कहानी अच्छे से बताओ तो वो सक्सेसफुल हो जाएगी. कि आपको किसी फॉर्मूला को फॉलो करने की जरूरत नहीं है. एंड बिकॉज ऑफ दैट आई थिंक गुड राइटिंग हैज फाइनली गॉट द इम्पोर्टेंस एंड अटेंशन दैट इट ऑलवेज नीडेड. कि आई मीन फॉर क्रिएटिव पीपल इट्स वेरी कॉमन नॉलेज की, एंड स्पेशली फॉर एक्टर्स, दैट if you don't have a good script to work with, there's nothing you can do. आप मतलब किसी वैक्यूम से कुछ क्रिएट करके नहीं निकाल सकते परफॉर्मेंस में. हाँ? क्योंकि आपके एज एन एक्टर यू डोंट हैव दैट मच कंट्रोल ओवर how a story is told. I mean, much of we are a small part of making an entire story. I mean, there is the way the story is written, the way the director chooses to envision the story, the way the cinematographer chooses to frame it, light it, the way the editor chooses to edit it. There are so many things. So अगर वो सब चीजें aligned ना हो तो there's not much you can create if those things are not already the intention of the makers. So I think with the OTT space, good writing has finally got the attention it needs, and people have finally understood that if you don't spend time writing something, or if you don't write something well, it won't turn out well. And if you do, then audiences will like it and watch it, even if it doesn't subscribe to a formula. So because good writing has finally got attention, therefore more nuanced characters are being written, and therefore women are also being written much better than they were possibly earlier.
And like, if when you look at your journey as an actor, how what would be the unconventional, not just as an actor but also in life, like what would be the unconventional choices you feel you made in your life and career that have shaped you as an artist and as a person?
You know, when I started my career, a lot of people advised me कि आप छोटे roles मत करो. क्योंकि एक बार आप छोटे रोल्स करना शुरू कर दोगे तो आपको कोई भी बड़ा रोल नहीं देगा. And I don't know if they were right or they were wrong, but I chose to not take that advice. I said कि नहीं ठीक है मुझे. I said that I only know how to introduce people through my work, introduce myself to people through my work. I'm not good at general networking, and there's no judgment on people who are good at it. It's very good for them who are. It's just that it's not a skill that I have. It's not. अपनी पर्सनालिटी के हिसाब से आपके पास स्किल्स होती हैं या नहीं होती हैं. किसी चीज को आप होन कर सकते हो, किसी चीज को आप नहीं कर सकते हो. सो यू हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड दैट यू आर मेड अ सर्टेन वे एंड यू हैव अ डिफरेंट पर्सनालिटी, देन यू हैव टू प्ले टू योर स्ट्रेंथ्स, राइट? So I thought my strength was in my craft, and in the fact that I was totally in love with what I did, and that was more important to me than anything else. And I thought that networking is not my skill. तो अगर छोटे रोल्स मिल रहे हैं मुझे, कोई बात नहीं. इसी तरीके से I'll introduce myself to directors. I'll introduce myself to people who are working in films. And so I said, okay, that advice is valid, but it's not for me. I'll do it my way, and I'll see. देखते हैं लाइफ में क्या होता है आगे. And fortunately, things turned out well. I don't know how things would have turned out if I had chosen to not do those roles. Maybe I would have got one big role, and then I would have maybe not had such a long period to wait before I got more important roles, or maybe I would have just dropped off the radar and nobody would have known me either. Who knows? अब ये नहीं कह सकते कि क्या होता है या क्या नहीं होता. But this is the unconventional choice that I made. I said no. Once people believed that I can act, then I'm sure I'll get more work. And also, I felt that how do I know that I can pull off a lead role?
Right.
How does anybody know? It's only with experience that you get to know, right? So I thought this was my way to understand how much I know about my work and to be able to improve it, so that by the time I get a more substantial or a lead part, I'm equipped to carry it out beautifully. So yes, that is I think an unconventional choice I made.
Right. And also, like, talking about lead roles or doing smaller roles, finally, like, your character in Mirzapur is one of the major character that is really talked about, apart from Pankaj Tripathi and Ali Fazal. And when the narration was being told to you at that time, we were generally not used to even see such characters even in movies, like web series. Like we do see in web series, in Sacred Games we have seen, but in movies we have not seen. And it was very much well received. and now it is almost a brand, Mirzapur, and everybody is eagerly waiting for the third season as well. So like when you said yes to it, do you had any inhibitions about that character, how it's going to be perceived, because it was something really new at that time?
I was a little nervous, I have to say,
Yeah.
क्योंकि मैंने वो टाइप का कैरेक्टर कभी वैसा कैरेक्टर कभी किया नहीं था. I was excited about that for that reason also, but also nervous कि मैं ठीक से कर पाऊंगी कि नहीं. And also this character needed to be treated with sensitivity. Otherwise, it would have probably not turned out to be what the intention was, which was to show this woman who has sexual agency, who's surviving very well in this very testosterone-driven world, and that was the idea. And I think it was written with that intention. So the writer Puneet Krishna wrote the part with a lot of sensitivity, and which is why it allowed me to sort of carry that sensitivity into my performance. And I think the biggest compliment I have had for that role is from Puneet, who told me that, Rasika ji, आपने बहुत अच्छे से तो किया, but I mean, he said you played the character really well, but most importantly, you played her with a lot of dignity, which was very important for a role like that. So I think that was his intention, and if that intention had not been in the writing, there's nothing that I could have done to change that. And when I read the part, I knew that was intact. So I knew कि intention correct है. उनकी इंटेंशन, डायरेक्टर की इंटेंशन करेक्ट है, राइटर का इंटेंशन करेक्ट है, मेरा इंटेंशन करेक्ट है, लेकिन क्या हम सब में वो स्किल है कि हम इस इंटेंशन को विजुअल में ट्रांसलेट कर पाएंगे, सो दैट वाज अ नर्वसनेस, and we all collaborated well to try and make that happen, and hopefully we succeeded.
Yeah, sure. So my last question to you would be like, is there any female character or any any artist, any female artist working in across industry whom you look up to or who has really inspired you?
Oh, so many. I mean, there are people who are working in India and Hollywood whose work is just phenomenal. I mean, अगर आप यहाँ की बात करें तो I think three. I've worked already with some very talented women like Shefali Shah, Tilotoma Shom, Tiska Chopra. But I would really, really like to work with Konkana. I would really like to work with Vidya Balan. I would really like to work with Tabu. They are some of my favorite performances, and they've given some of my favorite performances, and I'm really in awe of their work. I think otherwise, I am a huge fan of Kate Blanchett's work. I'm a huge fan of Claire Foy's work. I'm a huge fan of Olivia Colman's work. I'm a huge fan of Kate Winslet's work. So it's there are so many performances which are so lovely, and I always look up to. मतलब एक करियर में ये सब सारी चीजें एक्सपीरियंस नहीं हो सकती हैं, मुझे पता है, दैट वुड बी टू मच टू आस्क फॉर, लेकिन जितना हो सके, इट वुड, इफ आई वुड गेट एन अपॉर्चुनिटी टू डू द काइंड ऑफ वर्क दैट दीज वुमेन हैव डन और टू वर्क विद देम एट एनी टाइम, I think I have my fingers crossed for that.
Thank you so much, Rasika, and wish you a very happy Women's Day and a very happy Holi.
Thank you so much, Anurag. Lovely talking to you.